You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
Now, a word from our sponsor. The Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute is currently seeking qualified applicants for its innovative Master of Science in Security Informatics degree program. Study alongside world-class interdisciplinary experts and gain unparalleled educational, research, and professional experience in information security and assurance. Interested U.S. citizens should consider the NSF's Scholarship for Service Program or the DoD's Cyber Scholarship Program. Both scholarships cover tuition, required fees, university-sponsored health insurance, and provide more than $30,000 in an additional annual stipend. Apply for these scholarships to start in the fall semester at cs.jhu.edu/MSSI. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CyberWire's Research Saturday. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is our weekly conversation with researchers and analysts tracking down the threats and vulnerabilities, solving some of the hard problems, and protecting ourselves in a rapidly evolving cyberspace. Thanks for joining us.
We were observing some behavior that was indicative of platform abuse. So we spent some time investigating this activity and determined it looked like a persistent threat. And so then we did some more analysis of it and then released this report about it.
That's Blake Darche, head of CloudForce One at Cloudflare. Today we're discussing their research unraveling SloppyLemming's operations across South Asia. Well, explain to us who SloppyLemming is and what makes their operations unique compared to some of the other threat actors out there.
Sure. So SloppyLemming is a Asian-based threat actor targeting South and East Asian countries. We do think it's a part of a larger espionage campaign run by this threat actor where they're looking for different information about military and government organizations throughout the Asia Pacific AOR.
And my understanding is that cloud service providers play a particular role in SloppyLemming's activities?
So Cloudflare's recently been observing a variety of threat actors using disparate cloud services in a way in order to make tracking of their operations very difficult and hinder response. So this threat actor uses 4 or 5 different cloud providers, and those cloud providers could be everything from like a software as a service platform to everything to an infrastructure platform. And they're kind of chaining these different cloud services together. And by doing so, they really slow down response operations, and it becomes very difficult for, say, any of the individual cloud providers. If only one piece of the operation is on their infrastructure, it becomes difficult for all the different providers to be aware of what the threat actor is doing. And by doing that, they hope to stay kind of under the radar and not be discovered by defenders and the people they're targeting, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, can you walk us through what a typical credential harvesting process looks like from SloppyLemming?
Sure. So they've been sending out an email that's been impersonating a group of like IT professionals, and they're saying, hey, click this link. When you click this link in this email, it goes through, it brings you to a credential harvesting page. They get the user to enter credentials, and then they store those credentials and use those credentials later to gain access to those accounts. And the users are not aware of it, right? So they're doing this to, hundreds of users at a time. And quite often with a lot of cyber attacks, it all starts, with a click on a phishing attack or a phishing link on an email, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What are some of the specific industries that they seem to be focused on here?
This threat actor is predominantly focused on government and military.
And they seem to be putting a lot of attention on Pakistan, yes?
They do seem to be putting a lot of attention on Pakistan. Interestingly, after we published this research, we also obtained some intelligence showing they were actually targeting the Ukraine as well, which was kind of interesting because it changes their targeting a little bit and shows that even though they're mainly targeting Pakistan, they're also very interested in other areas, including Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, China, and now the Ukraine.
One of the things that caught my eye, and I suppose it should have been, I guess, inherent in the name SloppyLemming, but this group isn't very diligent when it comes to their OPSEC.
Different groups have a lot of different OPSEC behaviors, and I would classify this group as less sophisticated in operational security, but I would also not say they're the worst operationally secure group I've seen, if that makes sense. So probably like medium in terms of OPSEC.
Yeah.
But we did name them SloppyLemming because they made a lot of sloppy mistakes.
Fair enough. What are some of the tools and malware that they're using here for both their malware delivery and then also command and control?
Yeah, so they're using a variety of different remote access tools or implants, as some people might call them, to drop on hosts and control those hosts remotely. And it's through those tools, they're trying to obtain data, maintain persistent access to a network, and continue their, targeting of those entities.
And what sort of mitigations did you and your colleagues there take to disrupt SloppyLemming?
Sure, yeah. So we took a variety of mitigations. So we actually took down some of their code on our infrastructure. We reached out to 4 or 5 different cloud providers and cloud service vendors and said, hey, we've identified this threat actor. We would like to, we want to shut down this threat activity. And all the different providers we worked with were able to help us do so in a coordinated fashion. Oftentimes today, we're seeing spending some time doing coordinated operations across providers results in causing the threat actors to have a lot more cost to their operation to continue it versus just a single provider taking it down. So we actually reached out to GitHub, Dropbox, and Discord.
We'll be right back. Quick question. Do your end users always, and I mean always without exception, work on company-owned devices and IT-approved apps? I didn't think so. So my next question is, how do you keep your company's data safe when it's sitting on all those unmanaged apps and devices? 1Password has an answer to this question: Extended Access Management. 1Password Extended Access Management helps you secure every sign-in for every app on every device, because it solves the problems traditional IAM and MDM can't touch. And it's now available to companies with Okta and Microsoft Entra, and in beta for Google Workspace customers. Check it out at 1password.com/cyberwire. That's 1password.com/cyberwire. Imagine this. Your primary identity provider goes down, whether it's a cloud outage, network issue, or even a cyber attack. Suddenly, your business grinds to a halt. But what if it didn't have to? Meet Identity Continuity from Strata, the game-changing solution that keeps your business running smoothly no matter what. Whether your cloud IDP crashes or your on-prem system faces a hiccup, Identity Continuity seamlessly shifts authentication to a secondary or even tertiary IDP, automatically and without disruption. Powered by the Mavericks Identity Orchestration Platform, Identity Continuity uses smart health checks to monitor your IDP's availability and instantly activates failover strategies tailored to your needs. When the coast is clear, it's a seamless switch back. No more downtime, no lost revenue, no frustrated customers. Just continuous, secure access to your critical applications every single time. Protect your business from the high costs of IDP outages. With Identity Continuity from Strata, downtime is a thing of the past. Visit strata.io/cyberwire to learn how Strata's identity continuity can provide seamless enhanced capabilities to your existing identity fabric and receive a free set of AirPods Pro. Does this group sort of dial in the sophistication of the malware they use or their phishing techniques depending on who they're targeting?
I don't know if I'd go that far. I would say that over time, this group's malware has gotten more advanced. So they are kind of evolving and becoming more sophisticated over time.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't describe them as the most advanced threat group out there either.
Okay. Well, what would you say are some of the most effective mitigation strategies then for organizations to protect themselves here?
Sure. I would say the best mitigation strategies for this are, you want to patch your computers. They're using a CVE 2023-38831, which is a WinRAR CVE to do some of their exploitation. So once again, like this is not a 0 day. Oftentimes in security, everyone's talking about there's this 0 day, there's this 0 day. 0 days are a problem, but oftentimes the biggest problem we see are known exploits that people have not patched for. And this is a good example of that. So doing that, patching for that vulnerability is a good way. And then, really having defense in depth on your email infrastructure. So running an email security product that looks at inbound attacks and tries to prevent inbound attacks from coming into your environment is very much important and a key to this to stopping this threat actor.
One of the things that caught my eye in the research was the fact that they seem to be targeting the nuclear and defense sectors. Are there any specific messages here to folks in critical infrastructure in terms of bolstering their defenses here?
I think there are. I think if you work at all in critical infrastructure or you're a contractor that works for critical infrastructure, you serve as an important component of that supply chain. And if you have vulnerabilities in your network, then your customer effectively has vulnerabilities in their network. And we've seen this time and time again where we did some work with a company and they had a lawn care service and the lawn care service was compromised. And basically the lawn care service is then, trying to attack them. And so people often don't really think about just the chain of those events, but each single domino, once the first domino falls, the next domino falls faster, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. You mentioned earlier some collaboration between your team and some other platforms like GitHub and Dropbox. Can we go into some of that? I mean, what do those collaborations typically look like?
So we work with a variety of different organizations on a case-by-case basis. So we'll engage them and talk to them about a threat that we're seeing and figure out, hey, can we contain this threat? Do you know anything more about the threat? Can we provide you some insight into the threat and how it might be abusing your platform? And so in that collaborative manner, we're helping to build a better internet and better community doing the cyber defense.
Yeah, I have to say it's one of the heartening things when you hear these sorts of stories about how folks who even day to day might be even friendly competitors. When it comes to these sorts of things, the communication lines are open.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important that that continues and expands. In security, oftentimes people talk about sharing and threat sharing, and being able to do that on these individual investigations is really, really powerful and really causes an impact to threat actors and helps secure the internet for all of us.
So, looking at the information you all have gathered here, what are your recommendations? What sort of guidance can you give us for folks to protect themselves here?
I think you got to know your threat vectors and you have to understand kind of like where you sit in that chain. So, to your point earlier, if you're involved in, say, nuclear, anything nuclear related, you have to understand you're going to be a major target and you need to have the right defensive measures in place at your organization. And you need to understand that not customers and clients often don't really understand, I would say, their individual threat levels. And they need to understand what those levels are and then what those vectors are and then what their attack surface is. And, different companies have different attack surface, and understanding the totality of your threat level, your attack surface, and the threat vectors the threat actors are using really helps you kind of triangulate and protect your organization from attacks.
any insights or predictions of what we might expect to see from SloppyLemming in the future here?
We would expect to see similar activity. I think the thing that surprised us most was the recent uncovering of some Ukrainian activity that were there looked to be doing some things against Ukraine. So it'll be interesting to see if that continues, but we would otherwise expect to see similar kind of targeting continue in those areas.
Our thanks to Blake Darche from Cloudflare for joining us. The research is titled Unraveling SloppyLemming's Operations Across South Asia. We'll have a link in the show notes. That is Research Saturday, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K Cyberwire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K makes it easy for companies to optimize your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your teams while making your teams smarter. Learn how at n2k.com. This episode was produced by Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester. Our executive producer is Jennifer Eiben. Our executive editor is Brandon Karpf. Simone Petrella is our president. Peter Kilpie is our publisher. And I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next time. It's time for a shameless plug. On behalf of myself and my amazing Hacking Humans co-hosts, Maria Vermazis and Joe Kerrigan, we are hoping to earn your vote. I know you thought the election was over, and it is, but our hosting team was nominated in the Creator of the Year category in the 2024 Technically Awards for the Baltimore region. We'd love your support. Make sure you choose the Baltimore region on your ballot. That's where our nomination is. And do be quick about it. Voting ends on Monday, November 18th.
You can cast your vote by visiting technical.ly/awards. That's technical.ly/awards.
Thanks for your support.